So guys, we continue with chapter 4, market forces of supply and demand, and we're going to move on to a supply curve. So quantity supply is the amount of any good that seller is willing and able to sell. Not what he must or have to sell, but what seller is willing and able to sell. And a lot of things are going to determine our quantity supply. So quantity supply, a lot of things are going to determine quantity supply, but one of the main thing is the price of the product. And the price of the product and quantity supply, the relationships between price of the product and quantity supply are so precise that we can put it in the law of supply. And the law of supply is saying that all other things equal, if the price of the product is increasing, then quantity supply is going to increase as well. Guys, remember, we already know that sellers determine supply on the market. So therefore, when we're talking about supply, you need to think from the seller or producer point of view. So what would seller or producer do if the price of the product is changing? Well, remember, seller all the time wants to get or sell the product at the higher price. So therefore, when the price of the product is increasing, seller wants to supply more of that, and vice versa. If the price of the product is decreasing, now to sell each unit of the product is not that profitable, so therefore seller will be willing to supply or sell less of it. So quantity supply is going to decrease. Guys, remember, with the law of supply and with the law of demand, for the definition, pay attention. Then we're talking about when the price of a good changes, quantity supply is going to change. Not the supply, but quantity supply. By now, you already know that quantity demanded and therefore quantity supply is going to be affected by the change in price. So we're going to look at this supply schedule, and supply schedule is just a table that's going to represent the relationships between the price and quantity supply of this good. And the example we have supply for latte. So at certain price, seller is willing to supply different quantities of latte. Guys, remember, if we looking at this table, it exactly corresponds with the law of supply. Remember, when the price is low, sellers wants to sell only a little bit of units, or actually in this situation none. When the price of the product is increasing, sellers want to supply more. When the price is even higher, sellers want to supply even more. Remember, again, the law of supply says if the price of the product is increasing, then quantity supply is going to increase as well. So we're going to take this information and we are building over here our supply curve. And you already have pretty good idea of how to do it, how to plot the points on the graph. Remember, when we're talking about market forces of supply and demand, price is going to be on the vertical line, quantity is going to be on the horizontal line. This one is going to be quantity supply since we're talking about supply curve. When the price is 0, quantity is equal to 0. This is our first point. Actually, I probably need to first put 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6. This is our scale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And with quantity is going to be easy. 5, 10, 15, 20. Oh, no, I completely messed it up. Okay, and 25. That's fine. So when the price is 0, quantity supply is equal to 0. When the price is 1, quantity is equal to 3. So price is 1, quantity is going to be equal to 3 somewhere over here. When price is increasing to 2, quantity supply is 6. So price is increasing to 2, quantity supply is 6 somewhere over here. And we keep going. Price is 3. Quantity supply is equal to 9. So 9 is going to be here for 12. When the price is 4, quantity supply is 12, and 5 is 15. It's 15 somewhere over here. I'm a little bit off. And when the price is equal to 6, quantity is equal to 18. So when the price is equal to 6, quantity supply is equal to 18. So these are all the points that we took from our supply schedule. So guys, if we go and it's actually turn out pretty good. If we go in to connect these points, then the result is going to be our supply curve. So looking at the supply curve, what do we see over here? Supply curve is an upward sloping line. So one of the characteristics that you need to remember, supply is an upward sloping line that shows the relationships between the price of the product and quantity supply. So all the time, if you need from now on to draw a supply curve, remember, very important that supply curve have to slope upward. Next one, so pretty much on this PowerPoint slide, they also build you a supply curve. Of course, this is much prettier. And one more thing that we need to talk over here is market supply. Remember, it's the same as with market demand. When we talk about market supply, then it's a horizontal summation of all the individual supplies on the market. So we have the sum of all of individual supplies on the market. Remember, we add them up horizontally, all the quantities, and therefore we're going to get our market supply. So here you go. Initially, there was quantity supply for one seller. Okay, now we have quantity supply for another coffee shop. And they, you see, pay attention, at the different prices, they're willing to supply different quantities of, I guess, latte. So the price of 3, Starbucks supplying 9, but they are willing to supply 6. So, but together they're going to form market supply for lattes. So we're going to add those quantities horizontally up together, and we're going to receive at the end market supply for lattes. So if we're going to draw a graph, so our quantities at each price point is going to be higher right now, and therefore supply curve is still going to be an upward sloping line, but we're going to have different quantities at these prices. So this is market supply.